External file operations help you control your externally linked parts and assemblies. IronCAD allows you to design as many parts as you like in the same file, which is different to many traditional CAD systems. You can design a single part in an IronCAD 3D scene, or you can design 1 million parts in an IronCAD 3D scene. It's up to you. External files are used when you'd like to separate individual files in an assembly. For example, if you have many people in your organization, this enables individual people to work on individual products and then have those products all come together in the same assembly. It links the product and keeps it the same between many different files. It's worth noting that you can still design very complicated products all in the same file. This is just one file here with many different assemblies and sub-assemblies below it. But you can also separate those into individual files to save into your file system and work on separately as well. Here's a quick example of how the external file operations work. I'll click on the Insert Part/Assembly button. This is going to insert an externally linked IronCAD file. I'm going to choose this bracket here and then place it on my model somewhere. I'll just place it there. Now I'm going to activate the triball and rotate this around 90 degrees and then move it against the wall there. And maybe I'll also align it up to that circle cut. Now you can see on the left hand side here we have a little link symbol, and then it has the document link there. So this is now operating differently than a traditional IronCAD file where everything is available to edit at any time. This is now using that linked reference file. Note, for example, I can click on this one and then create a linked copy here. Just like that. And in this one I'll align precisely here because I just put it in a random spot to start. So there we have those two files. And now you can see if we select on one of those, we can also open the individual part/assembly that's linked. Now something that's worth noting here is that generally in IronCAD, you may already be used to a very flexible environment where you can make any changes you like to any file. You can simply drag something into the catalog and then reuse it again. And I'm going to say no to this external link. It means it won't keep that external link when it's in there. So when I drag out something like this, I can simply now edit it in any way I like, and it will automatically edit this model, but then not edit the linked model because this is a separate individual model here. So because this is a separate file, you can see these aren't changing, but sometimes you may want them to update. So you may want to have any changes to this bracket update in every single file you have that includes this bracket. And that's where you use externally linked files. So you can see here, we're now looking at this bracket and this is in our overall assembly. Maybe one of your employees needs to work on this bracket and improve it a little bit. So instead of them needing your entire file with the whole assembly, they can actually work on this individual file. And because this is a link, this will actually update when they make those changes and you reopen the model from that reference. So for example here, let's now open up this as an individual file. Now you can see we're now working on the bracket, not on the scene 1 here. Now I'm going to go into this bracket and change it a little bit. For example, let's add a slot here. And I'll change the size a little bit. Maybe let's make it 42 millimeters by 4 millimeters. And then I'll mirror this and create another one on the other side of this. And we'll leave it at that for now. So now these changes were made in this file and not in the other file. When we go over to here, you'll see this file has automatically been updated because this is a linked reference. Alternatively, if we had a non-linked file, then it wouldn't update and we could change them and customize them individually. So sometimes, for example, you may want to unlink the file you have because you may say, okay, well, now we've got to this stage. Now we want to actually unlink this from the reference bracket here because we use that bracket in a lot of projects, and this project we're actually going to have to customize it in more detail than usual. So now we're going to say, actually, let's unlink that. So I'm going to click on that file and click unlink up here, just like that. I'm going to do the same on this one. Now they're unlinked. So now we can actually customize them in any way we like, and it won't affect the other bracket file. So now we can say, okay, we're going to reduce these brackets, and now the individual bracket file over here won't be changing. Whereas if we had left that linked, this file would be changing as well. Now if you see up here, we have those various options. We have the insert one, which I've already used. That's how you insert an externally linked file. And we have the open parts of assembly, which is to open an externally linked file, which we now no longer have. These are not externally linked, so you can see that's not highlighted. And we have various other buttons here. Now you can save an externally linked file. So for example, if we are using an externally linked file, we can then save it to then save the finalize or save the changes we've made to that file, which will then change the menu there quickly. Let me jump back into the assembly menu. So if you save it, then it'll just simply update that file, save the file in the system. You can also save a new external file. So let's say you're in a model like this where you have multiple files that aren't externally saved, and maybe you want to decide that you want to save something individually as external. You can click on the file you want to save and then do save as, and that will then create a new external file. And you can also select save all as external to save all of the part and assembly files to externally linked files, and it'll save everything in the model. And then of course there's also the unlink option, which I already showed earlier, to unlink that item. Note, if you have many things linked, especially in a big assembly like this, you may have many linked files, and let's say you'd like to you've got lots of linked files and you'd like to now create a saved version of your model without anything linked, so it's kind of like a revision. There are many different ways you can approach that. You can, for example, drag things into the catalog like we did the bracket and save a version of it in the catalog and then save your catalog, or do a new empty catalog and start saving versions into the catalog by dragging and dropping them in there. What you'll often want to do, or occasionally, or maybe want to do, is delete all the external links so that you can save a current version that will never be changed, so that any new changes to any of the products within this assembly will never actually update this assembly. This is kind of like a snapshot, saving everything as the way it was at this date in time, and then all future changes will be future versions and be different. So if you want to do that, you'll want to remove all of the links. So you can use this unlink command, but of course sometimes there might be a lot of parts and assemblies to unlink, and you don't want to have to unlink them all individually. That would be time consuming and quite annoying. So instead of that, you can go to menu and then go to file and then go to find references. That will then find the references which are stored, and you can select them in bulk and unlink them from this list instead of needing to select them from the tree, which so basically that just makes it a lot faster to unlink multiple things in a big assembly. And then of course, once you have unlinked everything like we have here, we can then just save this as a single IronCAD file. So it's quite nice because you can have a single file that is a backup of all the different parts and assemblies in that model. So it could be thousands and thousands of parts, and they're all backed up in one version of this entire assembly, just with one file, which can be a lot better than having many individual files to back up. Or of course, you can save the files out individually as well. It's really worth noting the different benefits of IronCAD's file system, and that you can design everything you like in one file if you want to, or you can design everything in separate files. It's entirely up to you. That's how to use the external file operations.